I am honored to have Congressman Berkeley Bedell, former congressman from Northwest Iowa, on the program with me today. Berkeley is a mentor and a prophet. He wrote recently a piece on energy and climate change. We're going to talk about that today and maybe get an update on the progress of selling his new book. We've also got a couple actors from Ireland coming in, and we ordered weather that is perfect for folks from Ireland. They will feel so at home. And Betsy Sandow with the local contra dancing, square dancing group will join us to give us an update on what's happening on that front as well.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage. Open Sesame is Des Moines' premier Lebanese cafe. This month, Open Sesame is offering an unbeatable lunch special on Monday and Tuesdays. Mention the Fallon Forum when you order anything on Open Sesame's delicious lunch menu and get the second item for half price. That's right, buy one, get one for half price. Open Sesame's pita wraps, salads, soup, and mouth-watering Mideastern specialties will have you and your dining partner coming back again and again. Open Sesame at 313 East Locust Street in Des Moines' historic East Village.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome to Central Iowa, folks. Welcome to Des Moines, the cultural and culinary crossroads of the continent. Today, a soggy and wet Des Moines. But, no one here is complaining about it. Well, I haven't heard anybody complaining about it. No one with any sense is complaining about it because we sure need the rain. We need the rain like Obama needs another really good debate performance. So, let's see where that takes us. Crop yields are doing pretty well, better than expected. Activism around agriculture is doing pretty well. There's all sorts of things happening on that front. We've been talking about that this week. We'll be talking more about that next week. And later in the program, we're going to share with you some thoughts from Lee Camp on the presidential debate, on a chapter of that debate that went totally unnoticed and unreported in the mainstream media. We're also going to hear from two actors with a theater company from Ireland. Again, we ordered weather specifically to make them happy. They'll be with us in the studio here later in the program, as will Betsy Sandow to talk about square dancing. We talk mostly issues here, mostly politics, but we also throw in the fantastic cultural stuff that's happening here in Des Moines. Berkeley Bedell is on the phone with us from, I believe, from rainy Florida. Is it raining in your neck of the woods, Berkeley?
It did this morning.
Okay, well, we've got that in common as well. You've always been somebody I've admired greatly, and you were in Congress before I was even politically cognizant. So you've been raising the issues that are important for a long time, and I know you've been a very strong advocate for campaign finance reform. And recently, you wrote an opinion piece about climate change and energy. Tell us about what inspired you to put that commentary together.
I get the Des Moines Register down here. It comes late. But in the Register, I saw an op-ed piece by a gal named Hunter Lovins. I have met with Hunter and her former president, had dinner with them in the past, and they have had a project at least in Colorado in which they work to show people, but really showed corporations, how they could increase their profits by being more efficient in how they used energy. And I believe that we have a real problem in our planet with the pollution of our planet.
Well, in fact, you start off your opinion piece with a quote from Peter Goldmark saying, quote, "The death of our civilization is no longer a theory or academic possibility. It is the road we are on." That's a very somber assessment of our situation. Do you feel it's that serious?
Well, I sure do. And in my book, Revenue Matters, I started out with a statement by John Young, former astronaut. If you want to see an endangered species, get up and look in the mirror. That comes from being out there in space and looking back at our planet and realizing that we're stuck on this planet and can't go anywhere else. And we're polluting it today through the burning of fossil fuels to the extent that we are certainly going to make it less livable and possibly actually unlivable if we continue to do what we're doing.
And so certainly moving in the direction of cleaner energy is a key priority, and I think a lot of people are on board that. There's still plenty of interest groups and folks who are tied with those interest groups that don't want to see any change. But we've had more and more effort here in Iowa. Certainly we've become a leader in wind energy in Iowa. There is now talk about a national, well, I believe it's already been decided, there will be I think I can't remember how many acres, millions of acres set aside on public land in the West where they will showcase solar energy farms. So those things are happening, but even still, you've got Mitt Romney coming out against the wind energy tax credits. That kind of presents somewhat of a divide. Somewhat is an understatement, a very clear divide between the two leading presidential candidates when it comes to wind energy. What are your thoughts on that position that Mitt Romney took regarding wind energy and the tax credits?
Well, I think the problem is even deeper than that. He says he does not believe in global warming. And the problem we have, in my opinion, is a challenge between big corporations and the people. And big corporations care about making a profit for their stockholders and their executives, and they are not concerned about where we're headed for the future.
And you say this as a businessman. You founded a very, very successful fishing and tackle company in Northwest Iowa, and you've done very well as a businessman. So it's not. I mean, I take it you're not against profit per se. You're against the accumulation of profit to the detriment of being a good corporate citizen.
Well, I'm not. I'm all for profits, but I believe that we ought to tax according to people's ability to pay.
That's the point you make in Revenue Matters, I believe, correct?
Yes, Revenue Matters, the book I've written. And my belief is that everybody ought to be working together and contributing towards a better planet and a better country and a better state to the best they can. And my argument would be that today the wealthy are not sharing their share of the burden of what we need to do to have this be a nation that's similar to what we had after World War II. Right. Our taxes, particularly for the wealthy, have been cut back tremendously in recent years. I had a study done by the Congressional Research Service recently, and they told me that if the income tax rates were the same as they were when I was in Congress, we would double the revenue that comes into our government to help with things like Social Security and all those.
And help with things like retiring the debt.
That's
and
right.
Eliminating the deficit.
That's right.
Yeah. So back to the climate change issue. I mean, clearly I mean, Mitt Romney, it's hard to know what Mitt Romney believes. My sense is Mitt Romney believes whatever it's convenient to believe given the office he's running for or the particular point in the election. I mean, he was a very different candidate when he was competing against the far right wingers like Rick Santorum and Rick Perry. And now he's quite a different candidate. He was certainly different as a governor in Massachusetts and as a candidate for the U.S. Senate in Massachusetts. But I mean, he still seems to be standing by his contention that global warming is not an issue. And, I mean, Barack Obama talked quite a bit about global warming when he campaigned in 2008. But, you look at his track record, and yeah, it's better than Romney's, certainly. But he still talks, in the last debate, he talked about, he seems to be proud that he's authorizing more drilling of oil, that he's opening up more lands to oil exploration, that he supports the Keystone Pipeline. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around that. If he truly does understand the crisis that we are facing with global climate change, why is he still pushing all those things? I mean, I don't get that. What's your take on that, Burke?
Well, I think the problem clearly is that the current oil and gas and coal industries have so much money, and money is so important today in our political system. In fact, I would argue that money pretty well runs our political system. There were coal ads at the broadcast of both of the national political conventions that I listened to, that politicians are simply unwilling to take on those interests because of the fact that they want their political contributions. I think, honestly, that at least Obama has held back on that pipeline. At least that Obama supports the tax credit for wind energy, but neither of which are done by Romney. I should tell you, my opinion of Romney is that he could not have gotten a nomination without doing what the right-wing Tea Partiers wanted. Now I think he cannot win the election unless he changes his stand and tries to present himself as not one of those. I
think you're right, but is that honest? Is that sincere? Isn't that a form of deception?
Well, I think it is, of course, but I think his job, what he's trying to do, is get elected, not trying to be honest with the people.
Well, and
stand for what we need to do in our government.
Right, and people want honesty in politics, but I guess the deeper question is, who is the real Mitt Romney? I mean, is he the governor that was more like a Democrat in many ways when he was in Massachusetts? It's certainly more like a Democrat in some states. Or is he the guy we saw campaigning in the primary? Or is he the guy we see now? I mean, who is the real Mitt Romney? What do we actually expect him to do as president? I mean, will we find out that Mitt Romney actually does understand that climate change is the problem? I mean, is that a possibility? I mean, it's really a mystery as to what we're going to get. All I know is that we've got a guy who is not just representative of that very small 1% of the upper echelon. He is that 1%. He is extremely, well-heeled to the point that I think he has been out of touch with so many constituency groups. For example, the 47%. Or I think I would argue too that he is really not in touch with the challenges facing working women, and I think we saw that in the last debate. So, I mean, I don't know who the real Mitt Romney is. I don't know what to expect if he were to become president.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah. Well, there's another reason to support Obama. At least you know what you're getting.
That's right.
And yeah, I do think he has and again, the energy tax credits is a really good distinguishing point for Iowa because we have really done well with that here. It's become an important part of our economy. 20% of the electric generation in the state is now from wind. And that has tremendous potential to get much higher. And from our point of view, if that's something that you care about, Barack Obama is definitely the candidate of choice. And I would say, I don't expect Governor Branstad or Chuck Grassley or Steve King, for that matter, to support, Barack Obama. But they did, and I don't know whether you were aware of this, Berkeley, but they actually came out and criticized Romney's position on the wind energy tax credits.
No, I was not aware of it. But,
And that's got to hurt a little bit when you're the Republican presidential candidate and in a swing state, the senior Republican senator, Republican governor, and one of the two Republican congressmen say, hey, you're wrong on this.
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm curious about your book. We had you on quite a while ago to talk about Revenue Matters, and I helped distribute quite a few of those copies of that book to people here last fall. It received some good reviews from some of the local community here. How's it doing? How's it being received elsewhere in the country?
Where I get it out, it's pretty enthusiastically received among at least a significant number of people. But the problem is that it is not published by a major publisher. I published it myself.
Right.
And so I'm pretty well distributing it myself. It's not a moneymaker for me.
Right.
That was not my purpose, however.
Right.
My purpose was to try to get my message out as to what I believe, and that's one reason I appreciate being on your program here, Ed.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I understand, just to summarize the message, and you can state it better than me, obviously, but it's to get people to understand that we used to have a tax structure in this country where the folks who had done better paid more, and the country was in better shape when that happened, and that's not happening now.
That's correct. In addition to that, when I was in Congress, we worked together, Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
And what has happened, in my opinion, in our government is that under particularly the Bush years, they cut taxes primarily to the wealthy, and that was part of the reason everything was such a mess when Bush finally left office. The problem now is that all but 13 of the Republican members of Congress have signed a written pledge that they will not increase any taxes no matter what the need.
That's a dangerous position to put yourself in.
Well, it just cripples Congress,
Yeah.
and we can blame Obama for some of the things that happened, but how would you like to be head of a business that said where there was a mandate to you that you could not raise any prices or do anything to raise sales or any of that sort of thing? It just absolutely cripples the Congress, and it's particularly bad for Social Security. Today, in Social Security taxes are only levied on the first $110,100 of Social Security of wages. So somebody that's making $200,000 pays Social Security taxes at only about half the rate of working people. And in my opinion, it's crazy for us not to have the rich pay the same rate as the working people on Social Security. That would nearly solve our Social Security problem. But the Republicans can't vote for it even if they believed in it.
Because they've taken a pledge not to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes no sense at all. You point out in your book, too, if I remember correctly, that as a small business owner, your business hit a time when it was struggling, and you had hired somebody to manage the business that kind of hold up. You know, they weren't willing to take any risks. Then you brought somebody new in who took the risks. They didn't hunker down. They expanded. They pushed forward, and they managed to both deal with the current financial crisis and grow the business in a way that it just took off.
That was my son.
Your son, okay, right. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's a good metaphor. I mean, people say we ought to run government like a business. Well, you know, let's run it like Berkeley Fishing and Tackle. That one worked pretty well.
My business was very successful, but never once did I ever consider tax rates or taxes in regard to what I was going to do with my business or what it would needed to do to be successful.
Yeah.
I think that the Republicans have tremendously overplayed the fact of what they think it was taxes that business needs. What business needs is customers with money.
There you go.
The way you get customers with money is by reviving the economy and having an economy in which the common people have the money to buy your product.
Yeah. Folks, Berkeley Bedell, former U.S. Congressman from Northwest Iowa, is my guest here the first segment of this program. I do want to thank Brother Trucker for kicking the show off with their tune Downtown. I want to thank Physicians for Social Responsibility and the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club for helping to sponsor this program, and particularly this segment of the show. I want to thank Gateway Market. Gateway is in the Sherman Hill neighborhood, and it's not just a grocery store, it's a cafe, it's a catering service. And for it is amazing what they have there, not just across the board, but from local sources. Great local dairy. They've got meat, and at this time of the year, a phenomenal pumpkin and gourd display. They've got 200 cheeses. I love cheese, and that's a great place to find a high quality and a diverse selection of cheese. And you know, the nice thing about supporting Gateway Market, again, three things. One, you help support this program because they believe in providing alternatives to what you find on commercial radio, and also you keep your money local. They aren't going to ship it to some corporate headquarters in some other state. So again, Gateway Market, thank you for helping to sponsor this segment of the program. Berkeley, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be with you.
And stay well. Keep those cards and letters coming. I always enjoy reading your pieces when the Register prints them. And I look forward to hearing more about your book and whatever subsequent projects you undertake.
Thank you very much, Ed.
All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to hear from Lee Camp, not in the flesh, but I want to share a video he put out regarding the debate. There was a third presidential candidate at the debate, not speaking, not invited, actually specifically uninvited, and she was nonviolent and yet still arrested. Interesting. That didn't make the mainstream press. We'll talk about that and take a look at Lee Camp's video when we come back. Also, we'll talk about a little bit of cultural stuff going on here in Central Iowa. We're going to talk about square dancing, and we're going to talk about with two Irish actors who are in town to promote a couple plays that are very, very thought-provoking and very, very relevant for the political conversations we have on this show, particularly at this time of the year. We'll be back in a minute on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey folks, it's Ed Fallon. I want to tell you about saving energy and saving money. Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solutions will give you a comprehensive energy audit that will cost you nothing. And Tim will identify the many ways in which you can reduce energy use while saving money. Now, I had Tim over for an audit last month, and I was amazed, I tell you, at how much energy was going through the roof, out the windows, the back door. You get it. So before the cold winds of winter really blow hard, give Tim a call at 802-2801. That's 802-2801.
Host is a locally owned restaurant in downtown Des Moines that focuses its food and philosophy on embracing simplicity. The majority of Host's food is from local farmers who practice sustainable and health-conscious agriculture. Much of what you'll find on your plate is a familiar comfort food, presented with a modern and tasty interpretation. Host is open for lunch Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, and also available for private dinner events and special themed dinners throughout the month. So, check out Host at 13th and Locust in Des Moines.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
There is hope. Visit groundwire.net and chat now with a live coach for answers.
Oh my God, Becky, did you see her bumper? I know she's had work done. Just last week, she had dimples and stuff all over, and now look.
Yeah, dimples and stuff. Yeah.
I'm Jamie Lasher from Minor Wreck Express. We're here to help with all the dents, dings, and drama of car ownership. Call 278-0101 or visit minorwreck.com for details. We'll see you in the fast lane.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey folks, a lot of traffic in the Skywalk today. Can't blame you. It's kind of rainy outside. I want to thank Mr. Baber's Neighbors for that tune. That's Ode to Jones. Thank you for being a heck of a great local band and for providing music for this program. I also want to thank Reynolds Energy Solutions for sponsoring this segment of the show. A little bit later in the segment, we're going to talk with Betsy Sandow. I hope I have that name right. Okay, good.
I'm married now.
I'll get it right. We're going to talk about square dancing, which is actually a heck of a lot of fun, and I think a pretty neat element of Des Moines' cultural renaissance. Again, if you haven't noticed, Des Moines has become the cultural and culinary crossroads of the continent. But first, I want to play with you I want to play for you a video from Lee Camp about something that happened at the debate that I was not aware of. Let's play it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
No plans at all. Evil man's always transcending. Follow like sheep, swallow everything. Always simpletons or pretending. We got no plans.
This is your moment of clarity from LeeCamp.net. Yesterday, before the presidential debate began at Hofstra University here in New York, Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein and vice presidential candidate Sherry Honkala were arrested for trying to enter the debate grounds. As they were taken away to be chained up for 8 hours, they called the debate a mockery that's perpetuating this two-party duopoly, rather than allowing all the presidential candidates into the conversation. Jill Stein will be on 85% of the ballots on Election Day. 85% of America will have the option to vote for the Green Party, and yet she's not allowed to stand up on that stage with the two corporate candidates? Are they that afraid of the truth put forward by this petite, outspoken woman? I mean, she's like 5'0", and her idea of a wild night is having an extra cup of lentil soup. Why are Obama and Romney so terrified that they can't even let her within 100 yards of them? I can't think of anything I'm so scared of that I would have it arrested if it got anywhere near me, with the possible exception of Snooki riding on Bristol Palin's shoulders. The debates are largely funded by Anheuser-Busch, maker of Budweiser. Perhaps if Dr. Stein could prove her ability to proficiently chug a beer, do a keg stand, or play a little flip cup, maybe then she'd be allowed to debate. Perhaps if she were willing to take more money from corporations, maybe do commercials for Ambien or natural male enhancement, maybe then she would be permitted to speak to the American people. Perhaps if she stopped talking about drone attacks and police brutality, drug wars, and excessive criminality, maybe, just maybe then, she'd be permitted to stand up there proudly and discuss Big Bird, or binders full of women, or brag about drilling for more oil and gas than the next guy. Possibly they would let her in if her stance were not only to drill in the Alaskan Wildlife Refuge, but also in the Alaskan wildlife. You know, just photos of her just stabbing pipes into caribous just to check for petroleum. Then, and only then, would they let her up on that stage. But as it stands now, if you try to participate in this hypocrisy that covers its face with a mask of free democracy, and you don't fit into the tiny elite group of oligarchs and old farts, then you are not just ignored, you are arrested and chained up. Vladimir Putin better up his game, because we're catching up. That's your moment of clarity. I will be posting my exclusive interview with Jill Stein by tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Lee Camp. We've had Lee Camp on this program before, folks, and I got to spend a little time with him in New York City when I was there last month. He's a very, very calm and small person. He's a tiny guy. He's not big. But he's got a great voice, and he has a knack for cutting through some things that the mainstream press do not want you to talk about. And I think it's a really fair question. Why are not, obviously, okay, you can't have all the presidential candidates at a debate because there are, I think, 60, 70 of them, and some of them are about as wacky as you can possibly get and still be on the planet. I also met, when I was in New York, I met the guy with the rent is too damn high party. I forget his name now, but I don't think he would add much to a debate. That's just my opinion. But a great name for a party, but he was just so all over the board. I didn't see how you could gather any sense of an agenda from his rantings. But there are plenty of presidential candidates like that. But there are at least two that I know of, and maybe there's others. If I've missed somebody, tell me. There are at least two: the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein, and Gary Johnson, the former governor of New Mexico, who ran as a Republican originally, the Libertarian Party candidate. We've had him on this program. We've had his running mate a couple times. And by the way, I've extended repeated invitations to Jill Stein and her folks, and have not even got the courtesy of a response. Very disappointing. Still, not enough reason to have her arrested. And I don't, what are they afraid of? We had a guy in the show yesterday with the Socialist Workers Party. I am not a fan of the Socialist Workers Party. I'm not a socialist at all, and I don't like some of the tactics. But why should he not be included in a debate, especially when there's only 3 candidates running? It's got the restrictions on freedom of speech in this country are getting more and more stringent. We've seen that with the Occupy movement. We see it in the mainstream press on many occasions, in many ways, and we see it in the debates. Why aren't Americans able to experience a broader discussion of issues? Well, Lee Camp, I know you're a comedian and you're a funny guy. But you make the point really, really well, and I hope that people are paying attention because your point about who pays for the debates, that I was not aware of. But if it is true that there are ample corporate sponsorships behind the debates, the presidential debates, then that makes a heck of a lot of sense why we aren't hearing from voices that would be critical of that corporate influence. Anyway, there will be more to talk about because there is more happening. There'll be another debate later this month, and we'll see what happens in terms of third-party activism around that opportunity. But I'm going to switch gears here. We've got some cultural stuff to talk about today, too. And the final segment of the show, it'll be a cultural conversation that has political ramifications as well. I don't know if there are any political ramifications to square dancing, but I'm delighted to have Betsy Bicksack with me on the show today. Betsy, you are a square dancer.
I am.
And you are...
I've been doing it for about 12 years.
And you're like Lee Camp described Jill Stein, 5'0". You're pretty short as well.
Pretty much.
But I've seen you square dance. You got that thing down.
I do.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
I don't think we're going to get a demonstration today here in the studio. It would probably be awkward with the headset on. Yeah, but tell us, what is square dancing? How is it distinct from contra dancing, and what is the anticipation of its growth and here in Des Moines?
Our little group, we got it started last year, so this is maybe the 6th or 7th dance we're doing, and we're doing a dance this Saturday. The instruction is at 7:30. The dance is from 8 to 11. It's at Oddfellows Hall.
That's on 29th and Kingman, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're getting a pretty good turnout, for just starting.
Well, now that you've been on the Fallon Forum, your turnout should be just phenomenal.
Totally,
yeah. Yeah, no, this is like the third one you said?
I think it's like the 5th or 6th.
5th one? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a local band that plays?
We do. We have a local band, the Barn Owl Band. They're from Ames, and our caller is going to be Reed Miller. He's from Madison, Wisconsin, and he's called for us before. I really like him. I think he does a really good job. And that's what contra dancing is. I mean, contra dancing and square dancing are similar in that you have some of the same moves. You do do-si-dos or swinging
your partner.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, and square dancing is basically in a square or in some.
Correct.
Depending on who's doing it, maybe it looks more like a circle.
Yeah,
but
it's mainly done in squares. Contra dancing, they're for the most part, it's done in long lines.
Yeah.
So you still have a partner, but with contra dancing, you're with your partner the whole dance, but you have a different set of partner after each set. With square dancing, you're just dancing with the same 8 people. With contra dancing, you basically get to dance with everybody in the room.
But one exciting thing about Des Moines Cultural Revival is all the new stuff that's happening. I mean, look at the festivals for the Asian community, the Latino community, the Pride Week. There's so much happening with constituency groups that either have, not really been that present in Des Moines or have been very quiet or just haven't really found their voice. And you see that happening more and more. But what's exciting about this to me is that this goes way back. I mean, back when folks first settled this state, this stuff was happening, in barns and, at the end of a long day of working out in the fields.
Exactly.
It's got a long history in Iowa, and so it's exciting to me to see something that has that set of deep roots here. Seeing a revival.
And we're just trying to revive it, get it started again. People probably got away from it, and I think it needs to be out there more because a lot of people don't even know what contra dancing is. They think, oh well, I've never heard of this, so what is it? It's not a super common form of dancing.
Yeah. Now again, back in the 1800s, what was it primarily square dancing, or was contra dancing popular then as well?
I think it was contra dancing too. The long sets of lines. I know it originated somewhere in the 18th, 19th century. I'm not sure, but then it came over to America. It regained popularity in the 50s and 60s. A lot of in the East Coast, it was popular, and then it just kind of...
Yeah, I first discovered it when I went to college in Vermont back in the 70s.
Right. It was popular over in that area.
So, I mean, what if you don't have a clue, have never done it before, or you were born with 2 left feet? Are you still going to let these folks in?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's very beginner friendly. Like I said, there's a lesson. It's just practice from 7:30 to 8. That's where the caller makes sure that all of the dancers know what they're doing. And a lot of times it's good if you are a beginner to dance with somebody more advanced.
Yeah.
That way they can kind of show you what's going on.
Well, my experience is usually there's a mix of, there's about an even mix of beginners or, neophytes and more experienced folks. And if you can get that mix, in your square or in the same general area, you can kind of learn from just watching what other people do.
You can.
Yeah.
And like I said, the caller will help you. It's his or her job to make sure that all the dancers are doing what they're supposed to, and it's not really about like fancy footwork or anything like that, like a ballet or something. It's more about formations. So it's basically just walking in time to the music.
It's a damn good workout too.
It is.
I mean, you can come out of that
exercise.
having feel like you've gotten some exercise.
Definitely, yeah.
So
yeah.
And I understand you have water.
Oh,
for
yeah.
when people dehydrate.
We have water. We
collapse
have snacks.
and snacks. Okay, when they, it's all good. And the cost is?
The cost is $10 per person. Children 12 and under, they get in for free.
Okay.
And for family, it's $25 maximum.
Nice.
So,
all right.
but all ages are included.
And that's how that's your plan to get rich.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
Right. I don't know how many people would have to turn out at a square dance for you to get rich at $10 a pop. Yeah, it's a great. I mean, I know there's a lot of time and effort put into this, and it's all a labor of love because you believe that it's a good thing to be happening. So I appreciate you and all the other folks who are taking time to make it happen.
Thank you.
So and I'm going to try to be there. So if you want to if you want to avoid the possibility of having to dance with somebody who does have 2 left feet, stay away.
No, but you'll be fine. I'll show you.
No, actually, I'm not too bad. I get confused once in a while and crash into a wall or something. But no, it's a good time, and the people are wonderful, and the cookies are usually good too.
Oh, well, there you
All
go.
right. Folks, that'll be the, and again, the name of it is the Contraindications. Contraindications dance at the Oddfellows Hall. That's at 29th and Kingman Boulevard in Des Moines, just south of the Drake campus. This coming Saturday from 8 p.m. till 11 p.m. Come dance your little heart out for a mere $10. Anyway, hope to see you there. And Betsy, thank you. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
All right. And we, again, well, I want to thank Reynolds Energy Solutions for sponsoring this segment of the program. Tim Reynolds with that company, founded it, of course. He provides energy audits. These are free to the customer, and they will tell you lots of things you need to know about how to keep your home warm, and more important, how to minimize your use of energy so you aren't wasting money, and so that you can sleep better at night knowing that your carbon footprint is lower. All right? So, again, no cost to you to get this information. You not only can help yourself, though, again, save energy, save money, but you help this program because, again, Tim is one of those local entrepreneurs who keep their money here in the community, are doing good work, and believe in providing support for progressive alternatives to right-wing radio. So thank you, Tim. Thank you, folks, for giving him a call at 802-2801. That's 802-2801. When we come back, got a couple guests from Ireland in the studio. This should be exciting, and we've ordered weather that should make them feel right at home.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
Hi, folks. It's Ed Fallon here. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust. You've probably been there for their award-winning, nationally recognized lunch specials. Well, now Proof is open Thursdays and Fridays for supper. And here's where the chefs really get creative. Let me tell you, they're like artists, okay? I've been there, and it is one of the best meals I have had in Des Moines. I've heard that from other people. You got to check it out. Proof for supper, Thursdays and Fridays, and also the second Saturday of the month. Do not assume you can get in. Make reservations. Contact Proof Restaurant online at proofrestaurant.com or 244-0655. That's 244-0655. Hi, folks. Ed Fallon here. When it is time to entertain, think of Gateway Market. Let them handle the details. Gateway offers a wide variety of stress-free options like cut-to-order cheese and charcuterie. There's a delicious olive bar and a wide variety of chef-prepared dips and spreads. Or let the catering team take care of the entire event, right down to the wine and beer pairings. The expert floral designers can even customize the perfect centerpieces. So stop by or visit Gateway Market for more information. Gateway is at Woodland and ML King in downtown Des Moines. Good food, great entertaining.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. on 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hi, folks, and welcome back. That's Pumptown. And this segment of the show is sponsored by Proof Restaurant. And I will share with you a phenomenal Proof story as we get toward the end of the show. But I'm excited to have really, really rainy weather today, because anytime you get weather that resembles Irish weather, Irish people just start coming in. It's like amazing. They feel that this is like a call for them to descend, and they're doing it. I mean, I've got two Irish folks in the studio with me today, Sean and Roz Coyne. They are here traveling through Iowa, performing plays that are, both from what I've heard, beautiful and powerful, and that have also a very important message. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And step right up to the microphone there. Do not be afraid.
Okay. Thank you.
And I don't know if we have that. You have the, we have a trick chair in the studio. This is something we do to our guests. We put them in a trick chair and they sink lower and lower.
Yeah, and I got it.
You got it. All right, well, hopefully. So Roz is not actually a foot taller than Sean. Anyway, bear with us on that. So welcome to Iowa.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hope you're enjoying our weather.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, we actually brought the weather because Mary Swander told us you had a drought, so we said we'll sort that one out for you. There you go.
So we have you to thank for the.
Absolutely.
All right, great. So, tell the first play tonight in Ames, Hunger. Tell us about that.
Okay, Sean, do you want to kick off?
Hunger. It's about the Great Irish Famine on Gortha Moor, and as we tell the audience, for too long in Irish history, the famine has been literally an unspeakable subject. And it was this silence that prompted our good friend and well-known Irish poet, Eamon Grennan, who may well be listening to us on the internet at the moment. And it was that prompted Eamon to try to centre and orchestrate a piece for voices. And that piece for voices is what we do. And he created a dramatic recital. Yeah. And to do that, he kind of put together a patchwork quilt, kind of an audio quilt of our voices, of all the things that happened during the 1845, 1846, 1847.
I think sometimes people don't realize how a traumatic experience like the potato famine, or maybe in this country like slavery or the Civil War, how those can imprint an almost permanent scar on the collective consciousness. I mean, when I was young, when I was in Ireland in the 60s, 70s, even in 80s, the Irish farmers were so cautious about preventing any risk of potato blight. They would spray with bluestone with copper sulfate. They would spray the potatoes 6 times a year for something that was almost certainly not going to happen, but because of the collective trauma of that experience. And so, I mean, it seems to me that there's been, an awareness of the depth of that affliction for so long. But how is hunger reflecting a changing perspective on the famine?
Well, I think that now people are willing to talk about it. As Sean said, for so long they were silent because it's such a terrible disaster that happened, that hit Ireland. And it's only really in about the last 5 years that people have begun to open up and talk a little bit about actually what happened and what went on. And Cecil Woodham Smith wrote a book in the 1960s.
1960, I don't know exactly when.
And that was the beginning of when people began to talk. But up to then, it really wasn't mentioned, and it certainly wasn't taught in England, because the English government were responsible for a lot of what happened.
Yeah,
so that was kept very quiet.
Well, the myth is that it was a biological failure. It was a blight that came over and affected the potatoes, and what's Mother England going to do? I mean, there's nothing to be done for it. This is a crop failure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the lines in our piece is it says, God sent the blight, but the English made the famine.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't just English either. A lot of Irish landlords were hard.
I think the question is quite complex, and I think what Eamon tries to show in the piece we do is the complexity of what happened, and that blame, that the English government certainly was very responsible, but you can't lay all the blame at their door either. There were Irish landlords that contributed to the disaster, but in the beginning of the play, he tries to explain the political situation using documentary evidence. I mean, it's all written down, it's all documented, so you can't dispute that. But the main thrust of the piece is to get across the human disaster, the feelings behind what actually happened, the whole human story. That's what we try to do, so that it's not just facts and figures and statistics. It's how these people suffered. How they died, those that survived, how they managed to do it.
And that play will be performed tonight in Ames.
Yes.
In Ames tonight, in the public library in Ames tonight.
Okay, the public library is right in downtown Ames, folks. You might know that. I think it's on Clark Street, I believe. And that's at what time? 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock,
8
yeah.
p.m.
They got Bruce Springsteen to change his time today to suit us.
You know, well, I'm sure you,
why not?
Priorities, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
get
so
them right.
Bruce Springsteen is at what time?
He's at 1 o'clock now.
All right, well, good for you there. All right, that's wonderful. So yeah, maybe Bruce will stick around and just
he might
stop by.
He might
Nothing like having the boss show up for your production. But for those of us in Des Moines, and I mean, it's not that far. We can always go to Ames, but I've tied up tonight. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow's production, which is a different performance. A play called Emigration, I believe.
Emigration Road.
Emigration Road.
Yeah, the last lines of the Hunger play is emigration, that's another story. And so Emigration Road leads on directly from that. And it's about emigration from Ireland to America, mostly.
It starts off with immigration, with the young people, the monks leaving and bringing Christianity to Europe, and Columkill to Iona, and then Iona to Europe. And then it quickly moves on to immigration to the United States, really from the years of famine. And we talk about briefly about the famine. Then we talk about the American wake and the voyage across the Atlantic and the arrival in America and what it was like there. And it basically centres on homesickness. Everybody suffered the homesickness. Well,
it wasn't just homesick neither. I mean, you could practically die on one of those ships coming up. I mean, there were people who did die.
They did, yeah.
And my grandparents came over in the 1920s, and my grandmother swore that she would never, ever return to Ireland, as much as she loved it. And then transcontinental flights started, and of course all the planes going to Europe had to stop in Shannon to refuel. They weren't able to go further than, I guess, the 5 hours or so from New York. And once that started, she would go home every year. Yeah.
Every year.
Every year.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
but yeah, those voyages were apparently horrific.
The voyages were horrific, and we bring that into the piece about people died, and there's one piece where they talk about, and you mentioned Roscommon, where a man from Roscommon was on ship with his wife and nine children, and all but one died.
Oh, that had to be absolutely horrible. Yeah.
And they were thrown overboard.
Yeah.
There was nothing else you could do.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have this little political event going on here right now in the States called presidential election. Maybe you've heard about it.
I think so.
You've heard about it.
Yeah. We heard something about it.
And we have Mitt Romney running, and we have an Irishman running. Obama. Anyway, But I mean, some of the conversation in the presidential election has been substantive. A lot of it has been silly. But I mean, do you see any particular lessons? Because I mean, you're living, working, breathing these productions. Do you see any particular lessons relevant from these plays for the conversations we're having or should be having during the presidential election here?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it's important for people to realize that America has had people coming to this country for quite a long time now, not just from Ireland, but from Europe, from Italy, from all over the world. And it's like the new world, and they're coming here to find a new life for themselves. And I think maybe that should be looked at in the election campaign. You know, they should be looking at other groups of people. And okay, Obama came to Ireland, which was great, but they need to look more at the people and what we think of America.
Mm-hmm.
The bit of people living in Ireland that have never been to America, and people that have only been to New York or Boston.
Yes.
And now we're out here in the Midwest, and we were in New York and Boston last year, and it is totally different. People are different, and it's wide open.
We're much better here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whatever. Yeah, it's
very friendly.
very friendly, and we've been invited into people's homes. But driving down today with Laura, and we're looking at those massive fields of corn, and that's being shipped all over the world to feed the people all over the world.
Well, actually, no, most of it's being made into fuel for cars, or being turned into high fructose corn syrup, or being fed to cattle and hogs.
Yeah,
So.
Is that so?
Yeah, you're not getting a lot of food value out of that corn.
Well, that's
at least not directly.
Yeah.
But I think that the peace emigration road, we've come a full circle. I mean, I'm not sure that we have learned a lot through history and through what has happened, because we touch on emigration today, and people emigrated before, during, after the famine, and they're still emigrating.
Yeah. Well, the economic situation in Ireland has deteriorated.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. We have 87,000 leaving every year now.
Really?
Out of a country of approximately 4 million, 87,000 going every year.
4 million. Ireland finally got back to the level of population it had before the famine.
Yes.
People don't realize that.
Well, it was 8 million before the famine.
It was 8 million, that's
right. It was up to 8 million.
Right. Yeah.
And by the 1840s, it was nearly 10 million just by the beginning of the 1840s.
Yeah. Which is a lot of people for a little island.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
One of the lines we have, that the people were as thick in the fields as starlings.
Yeah.
And now there's scarcely a sinner about. That's one of the lines. You know? And they're very true. They ring true, those lines, when you listen carefully to them and think about them.
Well, it's I think there are so many lessons from all over the world, but for me, Ireland. I mean, and perhaps it's too because I've had such a strong connection to the country, you know. But the lessons for our own situation here are very strong. I mean, I get very frustrated when I hear politicians malign immigrants, and we have a candidate for sheriff here in Des Moines who I just don't understand where he's coming from when it comes to the way he connects immigrants with drug crimes. I had him on my program, and I don't get that. And you hear some of that. Well, you especially heard it during the Republican primary. I mean, the anti-immigrant rhetoric is as strong as ever in this country. Mm-hmm. It's not directed against the Irish anymore, even though the Irish, as you said, continue, 87,000 a year leave Ireland?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that a majority of them, perhaps, or at least a significant chunk, come to this country.
Yeah, we heard that the Irish are the best integrated immigrants in America. That's what we've heard since we came here, which was news to us. We didn't realize that.
Well, I mean, some of it is racial. I mean, we Irish look like the mainstream America, you know, but
in
the other folks coming don't in some cases. You know?
In the early days, you know, we were a race, and we weren't just Irish. We were a different race, and that was one of the problems.
And even I remember seeing pictures of Irish immigrants depicted as almost ape-like. From the 1890s, or even before then, I think.
Well, yeah, that's how they were looked at.
Dehumanizing.
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons the Irish didn't talk about the famine as well and talk about immigration in those days, because there was a certain amount of shame attached to being Irish when they arrived in the New World, as we call it.
Now, when my dad's family came over, my grandmother and grandfather, they were met with signs in New York saying no Irish need apply.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a copy of the book I helped my dad write before he passed away a few years ago.
Oh, thank you.
Called No Irish Need Apply, but it's a cute little story about what it was like to come over here and then his reconnection with Ireland through my grandmother. So that's it.
Thank you.
There's lots of great stories. It's a country noted for storytelling, and so I'm delighted you're here to help share a couple stories with us. And you've been traveling the state, not just here in Central Iowa, correct?
Yeah, we were in.
We were in Ames and Cedar. That's right, Cedar Falls. We did a show in Cedar Falls 2 nights ago, I think. 2 nights ago we did Immigration Road, and it was great. And we had some people in the audience that are going to Irish classes, so there was a bit of Gaelic going on as well, which is good, you know.
Yeah. Well, you're from the part of the country where Gaelic is a first language.
No,
not quite.
Just on
the edge.
We're just on the edge. We're very close to it. We actually don't speak Gaelic as the first language where we live, but 30 miles from us they do.
Okay.
They do.
Huh.
But Gaelic is coming back. It's now fashion to be able to speak Gaelic, which is great.
Well, good. I'm not that fashionable, so I'll just settle for a dapper little hat here. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Roz and Sean. I really appreciate you coming. And folks, if you're in Ames or want to go to Ames tonight, there's a wonderful play being performed at 8 o'clock. Bruce Springsteen will be there. It's well, we don't know for sure.
Well,
maybe he'll stop in after his concert.
We'll give him a shout. Yeah.
If he has any sense at all, he'll be there. Okay. So Roz and Sean Coyne will be performing Hunger, a play about the Irish potato famine, and the political as well as the biological elements of that crisis. Tomorrow at St. Augustine's Church, St. Augustine's Church here in Des Moines, at I believe 6:30. Yeah, 6:30. Good, I have the right time. That play is called Immigration Road, and you can see that. I believe tickets are $10 a pop. Hey. Everything's very affordable in Des Moines. Even though we are the cultural and culinary crossroads of the continent, we keep prices at a level that you can afford. So again, check out either one or both of those plays, and thank you so much for joining the Fallon Forum. Tomorrow we talk about labor issues, specifically the Taft-Hartley Act, why that was a good idea, what was wrong about repealing it, and what we might do to restore I'm mixing up Taft-Hartley and Glass-Steagall. We'll talk about both tomorrow, but we got an expert, somebody who really knows a lot about Taft-Hartley, so we'll kick it off with that. Also tomorrow we're going to be talking with Tristan, and I can never say his last name, so I'm not even going to attempt it, but he's with Why Hunger, and they have helped sponsor the Food Sovereignty Prize, an award given to somebody who's doing good in sustainable agriculture. So we'll talk with him tomorrow as well. And of course, stay tuned for Bradshaw. Bradshaw will be with you at 1:30. And I'll be back with you tomorrow at 12 noon. And I do want to thank again all of our sponsors, all of the businesses that believe in this alternative, including Proof Restaurant. And I had a chance to dine with a farmer friend of mine and a couple others at Proof Restaurant last night. Again, I tell you, Zach Mannheimer knows how not just to choose the best cheese, but how to present them in a way with dialogue that is very engaging. Zach's an actor, by the way, as well as the director of the Des Moines Social Club. But again, you got to check out Proof. They're open now evenings. It's not just a great lunch venue anymore, Wednesday through Saturday. And again, I was there last night. Busiest I've seen it on a Wednesday yet, so it's to the point now where you might want to think about making reservations. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust in downtown Des Moines. And again, thanks to all of our sponsors. We'll be back tomorrow, folks, on the Fallon Forum.